Want to know one of my artistic dirty secrets? I avoided watercolor gradients for years, and this limited what I could paint. I couldn't paint clear blue skies. I couldn't paint still water, let alone gradients on large flower petals. But now I can. Today, I'm going to show you how to master watercolor gradients and how to handle the pitfalls along the way that you won't find in other watercolor gradient tutorials. And if you follow along to the end, you'll have a finished painting. Here are the supplies for today's video. I have a size 10 and 14 round brush and a Nico size 9. The paper is Fabriano cold press 140 pound sheets that I've cut to size. The tape is Stick Blick Artist Tape 1/2 inch. Today I'm using French ultramarine, cadmium red, scarlet hue, cobalt blue, phthalo blue, and raw umber. Our first exercise is to do swatches in a gradient form. This is a free-form way to try to take a little bit of the pressure off and gives an opportunity to, when things don't go quite the way we want them to, ways to get out of those problems. I'm starting with a size 10 round. My brush is already damp, and I'm going to start with French ultramarine. French ultramarine is a granulating color. So I dip my brush and doing an even wash as if I'm doing a flat wash. Now I'm going to dip my brush to remove some of the pigment and come back and start to draw that pigment down the page. And I'll repeat that going down the page. I can see I had a little too much water, so I just dabbed my brush on my towel. And I'm going to take a little more pigment out. Now I'm going to take all the pigment out of the brush so I can get as close to white at the bottom of the swatch. And I just dried my brush a little bit to get that last little bead. Now to me right now it looks like it's got some lines in it, so I'm going to go over a little bit, and the way you can do that is you get a little bit of pigment and you want to use sort of a lighter value, so we're starting to dry, so we'll go over the whole thing. So I'm actually going to go up at the top, make sure it's the same wetness all the way down. I'm going to dip my brush. Dip it again, take out all the pigment, or most of the pigment. Try to get down to the bottom with as little pigment as possible. And we'll see how that looks when it's dried. The next color is cadmium red, scarlet hue, and it is a semi-opaque color. Again, this looks like it's in 3 sections rather than a clean gradient, so I am going to go over it a little bit. The next color is cobalt blue, which is a semi-transparent, meaning it has a little bit of opacity, but not as much opacity as a semi-opaque. So we go transparent, semi-transparent, semi-opaque, and then opaque. I don't have any opaque colors today. Well, I'm actually pretty happy with that. I think that that's a nice gradient. Now the last color is phthalo blue, and it's a fully transparent color. with some control, you can get it, and you can see how you can fix it if it doesn't go quite the way you want it to. Next, we'll do a double gradient, one coming down from the top and one coming up from the bottom. I have switched brushes to a sable brush. It happens to be a kayak brush and it's no longer made, in case you're interested. The reason I chose this brush is because I have a lot wider area and I have a lot longer area. I'm going to use the same brush as before. This is cobalt blue again, stirring it, getting it ready. I want to bring it down to about here because this is where the color fades to white. The paper has dried and I've drawn in some guidelines to put in a little bit of land. I've mixed up a little bit of warm gray. I need a little bit more than that. This is a combination of raw umber and cobalt blue. And that will be our land. I'm imagining some uneven terrain. To make this more realistic, I'll be painting reflections of the land, which will be a mirror image of what I just painted. I'm painting a tiny little separation between the land and the water, which will indicate where the water is. And because objects reflected in water generally are darker than the actual object itself, I'm adding in a little more pigment. I'm not going to worry about shimmers of water. You know, there's obviously going to be some movement in the water, but this is just a little fun exercise. Okay, and now I'm going to get one of my more pointy brushes. This is a NIC Pro, and make some birds. And that adds a little life to the composition. And if you followed along, congratulations, you've just made a painting. Here's the final painting done with little fuss. Won't you try it and let me know in the comments how it went? I hope you do try it so you aren't limited in watercolor the way I used to be. And if you're still pondering over which watercolor supplies to buy, check out this video.